Welcome to Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren. New York Comic Con featured a Wheel of Time panel where they showed 2 clips and a Season 2 sneak peek teaser. They also released 2 promotional stills where we got to see Donal Finn for the first time as Matt and Kira Coveney for the first time as Elayne. The clips have not been posted online yet, but the teaser has, and there's a lot to talk about, like Egwene wearing an interesting collar, possibly some shots of the Forsaken, a lot of Shan Chan's soldiers, shirtless men, and so much more. So like the video and subscribe, and let's get into it. Spoiler warning, the teaser itself discusses a pretty major book spoiler that's a big mystery at the end of Season 1 and isn't revealed until the end of Book 3. I'll be discussing some spoilers from the first 3 Wheel of Time books and from the first season of the Wheel of Time TV show, as well as speculating about events, locations, and some plot lines for Season 2. So if you haven't watched the first season or read the first 3 books and wish to remain completely spoiler-free, this video might not be for you. Go ahead and give a like anyway, and be sure to subscribe, and check out my spoiler-free WOT 101 videos, episode breakdowns, deep dives, and more. From reports I've heard about the clips that were shown, it sounds like we got to see 2 scenes that will hopefully be released soon. The first scene was of Donal Finn playing Matt in the White Tower, and he's visited by Liandrin, played by Kate Fleetwood. People who saw the scene reported that Donal did a phenomenal job as Matt, and that there was even some humor. Looking at the official first look and this amazing GIF that was created by @LordMattCauthen on Twitter, I think this recasting was incredible. I'm really looking forward to Donal's performance as the slightly more lighthearted Matt from the books. The second scene was apparently the first time that Egwene meets Elayne in her novice rooms in the White Tower. Elayne is played by Kira Coveney, and she looks and sounds the part to me from what we got in the panel. This image of Elayne wearing novice white and holding a lamp makes me think we might see the girls and possibly Matt with Liandrin in the Ways. I'll talk a bit more about this dress as we break down the teaser. Speaking of the teaser, here it is.
We didn't defeat the Dark One. We set his strongest lieutenant free. He may be waking the Forsaken. You have no conception of the power they wield.
The only way to stop all this suffering is to stop the wheel itself.
As always, I like to break all of the shots from the teaser into a grid. I've removed all of the still shots from Season 1 at the start of the teaser, and the titles at the end. We're left with 37 new shots. At first glance, I immediately noticed that the color grading feels better from this teaser than what we got in Season 1. Now, this could be from the people who compiled the teaser, but I'm very happy with this subtle change. The shots feel a bit darker and grittier without losing the bright tones from Season 1, and the makeup and costumes seem a little bit dirtier and more lived in. I hope this will be a global change for all of Season 2, and isn't exclusive to this teaser. Before we break down every shot, let's quickly discuss the audio. After seeing the scene from Season 1 at the end of the Eye of the World, where the Dark One smirks as Rand supposedly defeats him with the One Power, we get the following dialogue from Moiraine. "We didn't defeat the Dark One. We set his strongest lieutenant free." Okay, this is already a massive spoiler, though as always, Moiraine isn't necessarily the most reliable narrator. That said, major spoiler incoming. She's right. The man that manipulated Rand and the others in their dreams in Season 1, and who Rand seemed to defeat or possibly free at the Eye of the World, is not the Dark One. Now, while this is a spoiler, it's not completely out of left field. There are hints about this all throughout Season 1 and the first 3 books. This is Ishamael, who was mentioned a few times in Season 1 by people like Dana the Darkfriend and Steppen. He talks to Moiraine about Rand at the end of the Eye of the World and says, well, he's channeling. You don't even know what he's channeling to do, to break my chains or to strengthen them. Ishamael, also known as the Betrayer of Hope and apparently known as the Father of Lies in Season 1, is basically the leader of the Forsaken, which are some of the most powerful and evil channelers from the previous age. Speaking of, the next line from Moiraine says, he may be waking the Forsaken. Many of us theorize that what Rand did at the end of Season 1 was actually to fully free Ishamael from the prison, and to possibly create cracks in the seal at the eye that would allow the other Forsaken to be freed from their prison. I think this basically confirms that theory. That said, I'm pretty sure that some of the images that are shown in the teaser as the Forsaken are discussed in the dialogue are red herrings. I'll talk about that more in a minute. We get this great delivery from Rosamund Pike, presumably talking about the Forsaken and their power. She says,
You have no conception of the power they wield.
I love how frazzled Moiraine looks in this shot. Now, it seems like she's talking about the Forsaken here, but she could also be talking about the Shan-Chan, Ta'Veren like Rand and the others, or maybe even the Lords of Cairhien, since it's been confirmed that Moiraine will be in Cairhien this season, and we could be learning more about her backstory. Rosamund Pike also said in a clip that was posted on her Instagram that Moiraine will be pushing people away this season, including Lan. We see them together in many of the behind-the-scenes shots from previous trailers, so I don't know if they'll actually be physically separated in Season 2, or if she's talking more figuratively about how she'll be pushing people away and refusing help as she deals with her inability to channel the One Power in Season 2. She did say that she still cannot lie, and she doesn't say that she was stilled, so my bets are on the theory that Moiraine is just shielded and that somehow the shield will be broken after Rand defeats Ishamael and Falma. Finally, we get dialogue from Ishamael, which is also a bit of a spoiler. He essentially reveals his desire to break the Wheel of Time, though just like Moiraine, we should take everything he says with a grain of salt. He says, "The only way to stop all this suffering is to stop the wheel itself." I wonder what suffering he'll be referring to specifically. Could he be torturing Rand in this moment? I'll discuss this more in a bit. I love that Ishi, as we fans lovingly call him, seems more sane and together in the show than what we get in the first few books. But I also kind of miss crazy Bazzoman Ishi, and so I'm hoping we get more of the fiery eyes and mouth. It'll be interesting to see how he continues to manipulate people, and whether or not he'll be taunting Rand in dreams or in the real world this season. Okay, this first shot doesn't show much. I tried to zoom in to see if I could make out any more details, but this just appears to be 11 unknown people on horses. This shot feels to me like one of the earlier scenes in The Great Hunt, as Ingtar, Perrin, and the others set off on their hunt for the Horn, and Padan Fain from Shinar. I also like the theory that this could be the road where we first meet the Aielman who's looking for He Who Comes with the Dawn. I can just imagine Aiel hiding in the surrounding area here. We get our first shirtless shot of Yosha as Rand looking out of a window. Could this be after a sex scene, or do you think he's there alone? The way he's turning his head makes me think there's someone in the room talking to him. Could it be Ishamael or Selene, or my favorite theory, Min? The slats on the windows seem to match this shot with Min from the previous behind-the-scenes teaser. I like the theory that this is actually in Falma after the battle and after the Shan-Chan have been defeated. Remember, Min finds Rand after his fight with Bazzoman, and she basically nurses him back to health in an inn there. We also know from behind-the-scenes teaser that Min's head looks like it's partially shaved, similar to a Shan-Chan's servant. Do you think Min will be a Shan-Chan's servant or slave before meeting Rand here? Brightening up the shot, you can clearly see Rand's head is shaved. Do you think we'll start off the season with shaved head Rand, or will we see him cut off his hair at some point? In every shot we've seen of him so far from the 3 teasers, he's always got a shaved head, and there's even a stunt guy with a shaved head in one of the earlier teasers. I like the theory that he'll shave his red hair before entering Cairhien, because he looks like an Aielman, and the Cairhienin and Aiel have a long complicated history, so perhaps he'll want to hide his identity while there. We get this quick shot of Ishamael, and this just looks to me like a scene of him taunting Rand. I couldn't place the background, but it feels like it's probably indoors, and I think he's sitting down. This could also be a close-up of the scene with the people around the table that we'll see later. Brightening up the shot, it does look like there's light coming from somewhere up above in the top corner. Could this also be the same room that Rand is in the previous shot, or the room that Min is in with the light coming in from the windows? Do you think he's smiling at Rand here, or someone else? I do think we'll be getting some interesting dreams because we see what looks like Rand waking up. If he is waking up from a dream, Rand doesn't seem nearly as scared as he was in Season 1. Could he already be gaining some of that lovely Rand confidence? Brightening up this shot, I can't be certain that Rand has already shaved his head, but I think he has. The shadows are too dark to be sure, but I think Rand might be wearing something similar to what we've seen Ishamael wearing, a white collar with a black coat or overshirt. Do you think he's wearing black and white, or is it just a light collar and shadows? Also, the background pillow or sheets or whatever he's laying on looks pretty nice and fancy, so I'm guessing this happens later after Rand meets back up with Moiraine and Lan and has nicer accommodations and clothing, like what we see in this shot in the last BTS teaser, where Rand's coat is fancier and Lan and Moiraine are behind him. My guess is that this is happening somewhere in Cairhien. In this next shot, we get Ishamael walking up a path. At first I thought this was the Eye of the World set, but these steps and the rocks and bushes don't match. I thought maybe this was a shot of him walking out of the cave and being freed for the first time, but now I'm not so sure. When I saw this shaft of light coming from what looks like a hole in a cave or rocky wall, I was immediately reminded of the cave set that was used multiple times in Season 1. I can't be sure it's the same, but they used it in the 2 rivers where the sacred pool is, and again as a cave where Logain was held prisoner at the Aes Sedai camp before he was gentled. They really seem to be getting a lot of use out of that cave ceiling they built, or is this a real location that they keep redressing for different scenes? There's also a bit of a pillar scene at the start of this shot, which implies that this could be near a building. One theory that people have that I like for the show is that there are multiple ancient Age of Legends locations like like the Eye of the World, all around the globe that have different seals, where perhaps different Forsaken are trapped, which leads to these next two shots. These shots show what appears to be a woman covered in blood, reaching out and grabbing somebody's hand. Does the woman's hair look a bit like Avienda's hair from other teasers to you, or is this just the blood making her hair look that way? The black sleeve immediately makes me think this is Ishamael, or possibly Rand, but it really could be anybody. Some people think that this woman is Lanfear or another Forsaken that Ishamael is freeing. This could be the same location as the previous shot. Maybe he's going to different locations and freeing the Forsaken from different seals across the world. This could also very possibly be a dream or even a scene from an accepted test. What do you think is happening here? This next shot is the one I'm most intrigued by. We clearly see Ishamael and 11 others whose faces are all covered by black masks or veils sitting at a table with a 12-pointed star and 12 seats. I immediately thought of this scene from Hot Fuzz, which is one of my favorite movies.
You should be ashamed. Calling yourself a community that cares.
Oh, but we do care, Nicholas.
It's all about the greater good.
The greater good.
How can this be for the greater good?
The greater good.
This shot is shown right as Moraine talks about Ishamael's possible plan to free the Forsaken. Could this be the Forsaken, or is it a red herring? There are 13 Forsaken in the books, but there are only 12 people here. Who's this super short person? Could this be a child or Samael? The way I see it is either this is a meeting of Forsaken, or, in my opinion, it's more likely that this is what we call, as fans, the Darkfriend social, which happens at the beginning of Book 2. I suppose it could also be a dream or flashback to the Age of Legends. If it's the Forsaken, why veil their faces? The Forsaken wouldn't need to hide their identities from each other. This could be easily explained as one of those things they do, not because it's realistic, but because it causes more drama and intrigue for show viewers, and because they very likely haven't cast all of the Forsaken just yet. So it will make it easier to hide their faces for now. Maybe the big question of Season 2 will be sort of like the big "Who is the Dragon Reborn?" question from Season 1. We'll be asking, who are the Forsaken? They can treat it like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica. Anybody could be a Forsaken. They'll want to keep us guessing. If these are the Forsaken, why are there only 12? Where is the 13th? We've speculated that there might be fewer Forsaken in the show. Could this be confirmation of that? There were only 8 statues of Forsaken shown in Season 1, so it's possible that there are fewer Forsaken in the show. I've always thought they should consolidate some of the Forsaken to streamline the story a bit better, especially because, let's be honest, some of them are pretty lame and could be easily removed or combined with other more significant Forsaken. Rafe did talk about the Forsaken and how they'd be treated in the show versus how they're treated in early books. I always assumed this meant we'd see more of the meetings between the Forsaken, like we do in later books. Some of the clothing that can be seen does seem to come from a different time, especially this person's gloves, sleeves, and are those cufflinks? It's hard to tell with most of the others. Finally, in favor of this being the Forsaken, all of these people are sitting at a round-ish table, which usually signifies that they are equals. However, Ishamael does have the biggest chair. On the other hand, I'm more in favor of this scene being the Darkfriend social. For one, they've covered their faces, which is more in line with Darkfriends. Also, these colored dresses could be Aes Sedai of the Red and Blue Ajas, who are actually members of the Black Aja. Could this be Liandrin here? I think this one could be wearing an Aes Sedai ring, but it's difficult to be sure. I'm still confused by this little one here. Could this actually be a child Darkfriend? Pater, perhaps? Also, I saw the Dusty Wheel post on Twitter about the sleeves of this person possibly matching Padam Fane's sleeves. I already think this is the same location as this behind-the-scenes shot of Padam Fane in an unknown set. It's hard to tell, but I think the torches appear to match the torches in this scene. One thing that goes against this being Darkfriends is that if these were just Darkfriends, would Ishamael sit with them like this at a round table, treating them as equals? I do see this more sympathetic Ishi as manipulating Darkfriends by making them think that they're part of his inner circle, so it could work. I guess I'm still a bit on the fence about this one. I see pros and cons of each. Which do you think it is? I'm sure we could discuss this one shot for hours, but let's move on. This is one of the many shots we get of Shan-Chan's soldiers. I love the slightly updated look of their armor and costumes. A lot is happening in this shot too. We've got this woman, who appears to be wearing some sort of nose piercing that comes down and covers her mouth. I'm guessing this is one of the Shan-Chan's servants called Da Kovail, for a lord or lady that I think is just off screen to the left. Could this be Suroth's or Turok's voice? Perhaps they move the mouth cover aside when they need to speak. Also, could this person be a Noth? I won't say more about that, but if you know, you know. We also see this cat-looking thing here. Could this just be a statue or possibly a placeholder for a VFX Lopar or Grolm or other creature? It could also be a finished VFX shot of a creature, but the shot is too short for me to tell if it's moving at all. I think it's just a statue. Still, I'm pretty sure High Lady Suroth is in this scene, so this could be her pet Lopar. We see this symbol of this cat-like face on the Shan-Chan ship at the end of Season 1, and it's all over the armor of the high-ranked looking Shan-Chan soldiers in this teaser. Notice on these shoulder plates that the cat-like face has 3 eyes. So does the face on the Shan-Chan ship. Also, the tassels on these spears are mostly blue, which is in line with High Lady Suroth's house colors, as we know that she wears blue lacquered nails, which signify the color of her house. The guards of Shan-Chan nobles always have tassels on their spears that match their lord or lady's colors. We'll see more shots of a Shan-Chan noble in a bit, and I'm pretty sure it's Suroth. But we also see Uno, who definitely is alive for now, possibly about to get the Negan from Walking Dead treatment from this Shan-Chan soldier. You can also clearly see Loyal and Perrin in the background, and this was definitely the actor who was cast as Masima here. Someone thought this might be Egwene next to Perrin, but I don't think so. Also, I thought this guy might be Matt, but again, I doubt it. I think it's just an extra in this village that is awaiting judgment by the lord or lady off screen. Speaking of the village, it looks like we finally get to see some proper thatched rooftops. Could Sen Bui be here? Seriously though, do you think these scenes take place before or after the nighttime battle scenes with Perrin and the others? I'm guessing this happens after the fight, and they've all been captured and are awaiting judgment. I'm pretty sure this next shot is from the same scene. We see Perrin and Loyal and other Shienaran soldiers bowing down to who is presumably the lord or lady. Perrin's got some pretty good beard growth going here. We'll see one more shot from this location a bit later. This next shot shows Donal Finn as Matt Cawthon. I think they want us to think that this could be in the same location as the other shots in this sequence, but I think this happens elsewhere. For one thing, Matt is still wearing his ratty old clothing from season 1, and 2, the building in the background doesn't match the buildings in the previous shot with Perrin. I do think we'll see Matt in Falma, but I'm not convinced that this shot takes place there. I guess I'm hoping that Matt escapes the White Tower and goes on his gambling spree and gets some nicer clothing before he gets to Falma, but we'll just have to wait and see. These next two shots are so cool. We've speculated a lot about who this masked woman could be, and I think it's very likely the High Lady Suroth. They've over-exaggerated the length of the Shan-Chan noble fingernails by a lot, but I really like how it looks. The Shan-Chan feel properly alien, and I'm loving it. I'm pretty sure that Suroth, or whoever this is sitting in one of those palanquins that's carried by servants. I think we get a glimpse of this in another shot with Shan-Chan soldiers and that three-eyed cat armor. Somebody on the Dusty Wheel pointed out that it's odd that Suroth's two lacquered fingernails are shown in the first shot on her right hand, but then we cut to her left hand flicking downwards as we see a close-up of her nails. Now this could just be flipped, but I looked this up, and in the books, the High Lady Suroth has 1-inch long nails on all of her fingers, with the first two on each hand being lacquered blue. This is why I'm convinced that this is Suroth, because they say the tassels of the Shan-Chan noble guards match the color of their nails. I think in the show they didn't bother coloring her nails, but they're just taking some creative liberties with the length of the nails, just like what they did with the Aes Sedai rings. It's funny, but I never made the comparison before that Shan-Chan nobles and Aes Sedai are often recognized by what's visible on their hands. I think this is much more visibly clear from a distance for TV viewers. It helps to clearly distinguish the character's rank, even at a distance. But the best part is, I found a very specific description of Suroth in one of the books, where she's described as clicking her two lacquered nails on an armrest impatiently. We get a shot of frazzled Moraine, which I've already talked about, and Lan reacting to her. And then this shot of the higher-ranking Shan-Chan soldiers and the visible palanquin in the background, which I've also already talked about. Then we get this interesting scene of Nynaeve in a field, with shorter hair that is not braided. I'm 99% convinced that this is a scene from her accepted test. Are these two rivers Wollens? Also, what do you think she's holding in her hand? I don't think these next two clips are part of the same sequence with Nynaeve, but I do like the idea that she could be seeing Lan in her accepted test with his shirt off. I'm guessing these shirtless Lan scenes are of him dealing with everything falling apart around him, including Moraine pushing him away, Nynaeve leaving for the White Tower, and Rand going AWOL. I'm pretty sure this is a scene of Lan practicing his sword forms, doing something called a kata. I was originally hoping that this behind-the-scenes clip was a training sequence between Lan and Rand, but now I'm guessing Lan is alone here. I love the juxtaposition of these Lan and Nynaeve shots, where Lan is calm and collected, and then we see this quick shot of Nynaeve with a sword, and Maxim, one of Alana's warders, in the background. Now, obviously the first question is, why does Nynaeve have a sword? I like the theory that after the events at Faldara at the end of Season 1, Nynaeve is now dealing with her block, and is unable to channel, so she's doing everything she can to train herself to fight. Since she's already had this connection with the warders in Season 1, it makes sense to me that she would again find herself gravitating toward the warders in Season 2. I also like the idea that she'll become angry and channel in this moment, which is how they'll discover her block and her ability to channel when angry. And for those who may be a little bit annoyed that she has a sword, did you not see Season 1? I'd also like to point out that her braid seems much smaller and frankly more realistic in this scene from what we got in Season 1. She also appears to be wearing her Two Rivers belt from Season 1 over her accepted dress. I'm guessing this is an accepted dress, since we see the white dresses from Egwene and Elayne being more simple, and it makes sense that they would allow an accepted to wear something from their hometown with their white dress. Do you think this scene is part of the same sequence that we see in the behind the scenes teaser? I really think this will be a lead up to the famous scene with Mat, Gawain, and Galad. This next shot of Moiraine is simple, and I first thought this was a continuation of the scene with her at the Eye of the World at the end of Season 1. But looking more closely, I think this is part of a sequence, including these shots from the other behind-the-scenes teasers, and this shot that we see later in this teaser. This dagger does match the one that Moiraine uses against Rand's throat at the Eye, but her clothes don't match. She's not wearing the same shoulder pads. I think this sequence is meant to take the place of the Dragcar attack sequence from Book 2. This shot of a hooded figure, which I'm guessing is a Fade, sneaking up on and startling someone off their horse, which we're pretty sure is Aldib, Moraine's horse, is probably the lead up to this shot later. I really hope that this Fade, or whatever it is with the cool blade, is not killing Aldib at this moment. Do you think this is a Fade? Do you think Moraine's horse will survive? How will she get out of this situation since she can't channel? Could Lan and possibly Varen's warder Tomas be just around the corner? Another shot of the Shan-Chan soldiers, and this lord with the massive fingernails, who I'm guessing is High Lord Turok. How does he fight with a sword and those nails? Are they possibly detachable? They certainly look that way on these fingers. Notice that the soldiers' tassels are also blue here, which is why I'm not 100% sure that the earlier scenes are of Suroth. To be fair, the entire Shan-Chan aesthetic is blue. This banner shows the Shan-Chan symbol, which is a golden hawk in flight, clutching 3 lightning bolts in each claw on a field of white and blue. Perhaps all of the Shan-Chan will just have blue tassels in the show, and the lacquered nails won't be colored like they are in the books. I'm pretty sure this is the same location as this BTS shot, and we can clearly see this woman here, who I'm guessing is Turok's voice. Moving right along, we get this sad shot of Elayne wearing what appears to be her novice dress, with possibly an apron. This does seem to match another shot of her in the White Tower from one of the other teasers. Do you think this is a scene in the White Tower? Or could this be from later, possibly after Falma, or before she's collared but still in Falma? She could be talking to Matt here, who doesn't look like he's doing too well in this next shot. I'm guessing this is Matt laying on a bed after being brought into the tower by the Red Aja, but possibly before he's healed fully from the effects of the dagger. This could also be Matt back at the Light's Blessing in Season 1. I'm still hopeful that we'll get some sort of flashback or cold open scene that will fill in the missing details about Padan Fain and how he came across the dagger. I'd love to see a bit more between these two characters, as I'm sure they were planning on doing more between the two of them in the finale before Barney Harris left the show at the end of Season 1. This shot is just awesome. You never want to see an angry Ogier. They can be terrifying. I'm guessing this scene takes place after the nighttime battle shots with the Shan-Chan soldiers, but I also like the theory that this could be the scene with Loial fighting against the Trollocs in the streets of Cairhien, like he does with Rand in Book 2. I'm just doubtful that Rand and Loial will share many scenes together in Season 2, but who knows? It wouldn't be the Wheel of Time without a bath scene. I'm really looking forward to Rosamund Pike's acting in this season, as I think her character will be going through some very tough things that weren't really in the books. Why do you think she's crying here? And where do you think this takes place? It looks like we finally know who's being shackled to the wheel from these other behind-the-scenes shots. Yosha looks absolutely amazing, but let's focus. What do you think is happening in this scene? I'm convinced that this is a dream, where Rand is being taunted by either Lanfear or Ishamael, or both. You can clearly see someone walking towards him from a throne-like dais in this BTS shot. I'll talk more about this scene in a bit. We see this incredible reaction shot of Perrin next. This just gets me excited because I want Perrin's character to get more focus in Season 2. I don't know what he's reacting to, but I'm guessing this is happening right around the same time as these other shots of him kneeling and watching Uno being brought before the Shan-Chan noble. What if Perrin is witnessing or feeling the death of Hopper in this moment? That could cause him to go into a rage and possibly kill some Shan-Chan soldiers while freeing himself and the others. Or what if he's seeing Uno or another of his Shienaran companions being killed by the Shan-Chan? One of my favorite theories is that he could be witnessing Egwene as a Damane for the first time. What if she is collared and forced to use the One Power to hurt or kill someone that Perrin knows in this scene? It gives me chills just thinking about it. I can't make out much from this shot other than Guy Roberts being awesome as Uno while fighting against this Shan-Chan soldier and this seemingly unknown villager who's probably just an extra being grabbed by another soldier in the background. We do get a quick glimpse of the symbol on Uno's shield, which I'm guessing is Agomar's symbol from Faldara. Another quick shot, this time of Swan in full regalia. Could this be the moment that leads up to Moraine's downfall that Min foresaw? It's interesting that we seem to see both Suroth and Swan in a type of fancy carriage or palanquin. I'm looking forward to seeing the contrast between the Shan-Chan and how they deal with channelers versus the White Tower. And it seems to me that they are intentionally setting up this contrast in the show. Unlike Season 1, Swan is wearing a more traditional looking, though still very fancy, stole. But I'm not seeing the different colors of the Ajas on this one. I'm guessing they're there but muted, just like in Season 1. You can also see that her dress is cut just low enough to show off her tattoos from Tyr. I love that Swan, while dressed very fancy like the Pope, is still reminding everyone of her roots and her poor background. How do you think Swan will factor into this season? Do you think this takes place at or near the White Tower in Tar Valon? Another quick shot of Ishii. This time his coat is off and the lighting is strangely warm and almost romantic. Is he going to try to seduce Rand instead of having Lanfear do it? Seriously though, this feels like another scene where Ishii is probably taunting Rand in a dream, trying to convince Rand to stop the wheel. Another quick night battle shot with the Shan-Chan, villagers, and I think Ingtar here in the foreground. Somebody on the Dusty Wheel thought that this woman in the corner could be Kira Coveney as Elayne, but I'm not convinced. Do you think this is Elayne or just an extra? Also, I've said this before, but some of these Shan-Chan soldiers just look massive. Could we be getting Ogier Shan-Chan soldiers? Then we get the most heartbreaking shot in the teaser. Knowing what's coming for Egwene this season has me very excited but also anxious, because I know some of it will be hard to watch. Many people have pointed out that this shot proves that they have removed the ball gags or pacifiers or whatever you call these mouth guards that the Damane wear at the end of season 1, but I think people misunderstand what those were. Sarah Nakamura was in the chat in the Dusty Wheel livestream, and she said the ball gag things are still in the show, but I'm not sure that the Idam, the ter'angreal that the Shan-Chan use to control female channelers, is related to the mouth covers. This collar looking thing that Egwene is wearing is the same thing that the Damane are wearing at the end of season 1. I'm guessing the ball gags are used as additional control and punishment of slaves. The Shan-Chan are absolutely despicable, and it makes sense to me that they would use something humiliating like this on the Damane. Obviously they've removed the leash as part of the Idam ter'angreal, but I really like this change, and we know that the leash is unnecessary for the Idam to work from later books, so this is not an issue for me. In this next shot, we get White Cloaks rushing towards an opening in what I assume is the palace at Falma. At first I thought they were charging or attacking, but their shields are on their backs, none of them are wearing helmets, and I don't see any weapons drawn. So it's possible that some of the White Cloaks this season will actually be allies with some of the Shan-Chan. Or this is not Falma. You can just make out someone with really blonde or white hair at the front. I thought this was probably Jeffrey Bornhold at first, but watching this shot in slow motion, you can see the hair is bouncing, so I'm guessing this is this guy from the other BTS shot. I'm also more convinced that this is Jaikim Karadin, or the man who calls himself Bors. Do you think these White Cloaks are in league with the Shan-Chan, or at least with Suroth? We've already discussed this shot, and this scene doesn't really reveal anything new that I can see from the Shan-Chan armor, but I really like how it looks. This final shot shows what appears to be a Shan-Chan soldier with different clothing or armor from what we've seen, attempting to shut or open doors on a Shan-Chan ship as it bursts into flame. At first I thought this was part of the explosion scenes that we see in the other BTS shots, but this is clearly a ship. You can see the ropes and rigging, and this matches the look of the ship from the end of season 1. Real quick, because this video is already way too long, let's talk about the themes for season 2. I love that this entire season has a theme of being bound, imprisoned, shackled, or enslaved, and being freed, unbound, or removed from prison. I think we get a pretty solid understanding of what season 2 will be about. I can't take all of the credit for this. Master of the Deck brought some of this up on the Dusty Wheel livestream, but look at all these shots of people being captured or bound. We literally see the dragon, the one who is supposed to be one with the land, tied to the Wheel of Time, which is essentially a metaphor for existence and for his Taviran nature. The dragon and the wheel and the earth are shackled or bound to each other. Ishii says himself that he wants to stop the wheel. The only way that he can do that is by first stopping or breaking the dragon. Based on the determination we see in Rand's face, I don't think he'll be broken in season 2. I love the contrast between Egwene's capture and bondage and Rand's struggle. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these themes play out in season 2. Let me know in the comments what you're most looking forward to. Phew, we did it. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments, and please like the video and subscribe for more quality Wheel of Time content. Also, it takes a lot of work to build these videos, and your support is very appreciated. Special thanks to my wonderful Patreon and YouTube supporters who continue to make this possible. Please consider supporting me on Patreon or here on YouTube for as little as $1 per month. Thanks for watching. Let the dragon ride again on the winds of Prime.